G'day there guys, it's Connor here again from Marquee Industries, and we're back with some more stories from Reddit. As always, if you enjoy these videos, be sure to hit like and subscribe, and also the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Alrighty, let's get right into it. Okay, kicking things off on relationship advice, this one was written by user C Luck, and it's titled, My sister and I signed a 3-year lease. She got pregnant 3 months in. How do I tell her I need to move out? I, female 35, moved across the country, Canada, with my son, 14, and my dog, to start new. I asked my sister, 36, to join me in the city. She lived in a small town 2 hours south from where we live now. I accepted a job offer, as did my sister, and we signed a 3-year fixed rental agreement and a 3-bedroom house. My sister and I are very different people. We have a complicated but supportive relationship. We have a lot of love and respect for one another. We also have some on and off codependency issues from our childhood. Things were going well for the first few months. We were transitioning into this dynamic and it wasn't always easy, but we found systems and ways to make it work. Everything changed 3 months ago. My sister met a man and conceived on her first date. The baby is due in April. It's a welcomed surprise. My sister is experiencing a difficult start to her pregnancy, insomnia, stress, thyroid issues. We have not been getting along. My son and I can do nothing right. It's the little things compounded. My sister is also quite entitled, openly expresses and reinforces these attributes with humor. In her pregnancy, it's been worse. There's little to no consideration. For example, she's struggling with the sound in the house. She leaves her door open for her cat and refuses to wear earplugs. Instead, she demands for my son and I to vacate the living room and kitchen at 8 p.m. because she can hear us. I don't get home until 7 p.m. and need to make dinner. Another example is that I'd been giving her upwards of $600 a month in groceries. I have a lot of allergies and she wouldn't accommodate these allergies, so I would often need to eat alone and buy additional groceries. It hurts me to learn that she had her groceries supplemented by the father of her unborn child, meaning that she'd been asking for money for groceries that were already paid for. My salary is less than my sister's, and I have a dependent. She decided that the child's father, 36, would move into this house with his dog and his cat and sleep in the foyer at the top of the stairs without consulting with myself or my son. This area of the house is not closed in. It's positioned above the living room and kitchen, an area that my sister has already deemed inaccessible between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m., and also between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. My son and I are starting to get forced into our bedrooms off the entry hallway. They split up 2 weeks ago, and he's still moving in. He's a bit of a dirty guy, and my sister is type A. To put things into perspective, she has cleaned out this house and his storage units in the last 3 months. He's not much of a cook or cleaner. She said that I'm lucky because I get to benefit financially from this. I'll pay less in rent and, quote, I don't even deserve it. Those were her actual words. I actually like the guy. I don't like the way my sister treats him, but he's a nice guy. I moved for a lot of reasons. My son was experiencing anxiety and self-esteem issues around his father. I never married, separated after the birth of our son, in and out of the picture, whom had drained our collective savings account for the kid's education because of addiction. I wasn't able to secure a suitable salary with my education to get ahead. To be fully honest here, my sister and I had a hard upbringing. The only reason I stayed in our hometown was so that my son had access to his father, and well, a time came where his father's absence would be more beneficial than his presence. I moved so that we could start a new life and have peace. We are not experiencing peace. I confronted my sister about the use of communal spaces and that she would have to find solutions to limit the way sound affected her. I confronted my sister about shared bills and have asked her to post the bills on the fridge and that we would no longer be splitting most groceries. I confronted my sister that I'm not entirely comfortable with someone moving in here. It's not within the rights of our lease and we would need to communicate this with the landlord and ask to break the lease. My sister's response to everything has been emotional, reluctant, and avoidant. She simply cries, yells, and walks away. She claims that I am abandoning her. I feel exhausted, exploited, and manipulated. It's affecting my work, my personal life, and my ability to enjoy life. My son is experiencing some anxiety too. He has sports and extracurricular most days after school, and I'm adamant to discuss adult things without my son there. However, he's witnessed some arguments and knows that we're not getting along. I want to leave this situation. I know I have to. I feel like I'm abandoning her, not just because she tells me so, but because everything is crazy and I want to leave. I didn't sign up for this. I don't agree to live with my sister, her estranged ex-boyfriend of 3 months, and his 2 pets. I don't know where to start, how to do this. I know I need a couple of months to save up for first and last. Wow, first of all, I don't know how anyone can perceive a baby conceived on the first date as a welcome surprise. That kind of took me off guard. But yeah, with the way Opie writes it, this situation is totally out of hand. I think regardless of the sister's feelings or whatever you need to do to break the lease, I think Opie should get out of here. Let's go to the comments. Have the guy take over your lease and leave before the real madness starts. Opie says, I think this is the best route. I had originally pitched this idea, and my sister had said he wouldn't move in. A month passed, and she decided he would move in. I originally said that I would stick it out until June, marking 1 year on our lease, but I just can't stick it out for that long. My work and mental state is suffering too much. In all fairness, I've been fickle agreeing to this arrangement and disagreeing with the arrangement of the father to be moving in. It's difficult to think about my son or myself when I can clearly see my sister is in so much distress. Despite all the comments here about her being awful, she's still my sister, and I love her. I will continue to support her, but on my terms. Her feeling abandoned is valid to her because that's how she feels and she's afraid. It's not as easy as walking away. I want our relationship to get better, not worse. You never agreed to live with someone who treats you like crap. She has zero respect or regard for your needs or your son's needs. She is choosing to ignore your feelings at every turn. As soon as you possibly can, give her 30 days notice that you and your son are leaving. In the meantime, do what's best for you and your son, not necessarily what she has decided she wants you to do, such as changing your habits and staying out of common spaces. Are you abandoning her, or are you prioritizing your son and your own well-being? When someone tells you you're doing something wrong, examine what they have to gain from this narrative. Your sister is manipulating you, defrauding you of grocery money, infringing on your reasonable enjoyment and expectations of peace in your home, and blaming you for it all. She is not a good sister, I'm sorry to say. Please go to the landlord, let them know she has moved in another adult who isn't on the lease, and ask to be let out. Now we have a possible comment from the sister from the post. Hello everyone, entitled Sister here. Just thought I'd give you on my side of the story because no matter how flat you make a pancake, there are 2 sides to every story. 1. I do not demand that my sister and nephew vacate the living room at 8 p.m. The request has always been, even before I was pregnant, to be quiet after 10 p.m. as I have to wake up at 6 a.m. for work every day. Very reasonable, albeit pretty difficult when my sister has this one friend that invites himself over, gets drunk and can't drive home, then sleeps in the living room snoring like a trucker all night. When I ask my sister to ask him to leave, after he's sober of course, she says, "You're the one who wants him to leave, you ask him." But I guess I possess sole autonomy of the shared living spaces, so... 2. She doesn't get home at 7 p.m. every night. She works from home 3 out of the 5 days of the week. She does meal prep on weekends and has not cooked supper for her or her son on a weekday in almost 2 months. 3. She has not given me a dime in grocery money since late July/early August. We used to split the grocery bill 50-50. Then she decided that her diet was too complicated, so she wished for us to switch to buying our own groceries. I've been purchasing my own groceries since then. I found out I was pregnant on August 22nd, and by suggestion from my sister as a type of child support, I started accepting groceries from my partner in mid-September. I've also shared this food with both my sister and nephew when they run out of essentials. He paid for 90% of the beautiful Thanksgiving feast we all just shared together on Monday. $600 a month? Jesus, Mary and Joseph, OP. I'm sorry that Mum taught you that lying helps you get away with things in life. I'll keep praying that one day you're cured of this disease. 4. My sister suggested that my partner move in to help with expenses. It was her idea, not mine. I exclaimed that he's a slob, I'm nervous, I hate his dog, we're not an established couple, it will affect the dynamic in the house, etc. And she stated it's likely still the best decision to make for my baby, so I relented and invited him to move in. I believed up until today that I still had her support on this decision. Ironic that the post casts me as the poor communicator who cries, yells and walks away, when I've not heard a single word about her not wanting him to move in until now. Anyway, I don't really care to win over Redditors at this point. I haven't even read any comments. It doesn't matter to me what you all think, only what my sister thinks of me. It's so bad that she thinks she has to hide in her room, or that I don't listen, and that she has to fabricate a story online to get some affirmations from absolute strangers. Sad how this situation has devolved, because I love her and her son more than anything in the entire world. Remember kids, communicate with your loved ones about your problems. Don't believe everything you read online, and always use protection. Holy, hard to know who to believe after this. Okay, Opie updates 2 months later. Posting on Reddit was an absolute wake-up call. My sister found the post. Her and her ex totally berated me in a government building conference room after hours. When I was adamant about moving out, things got substantially worse. My sister decided he would not move in and we would both move out. I notified the landlord to give him 60 days notice. I found a place for myself and my son. It's within my budget and absolutely perfect. With an exit in sight, things were starting to become tolerable. Come mid-November, there was still the issue of shared assets, so I braced the difficult conversation with my sister via text, requesting to set a date and time to discuss things. Her actual reply was, "Suck my dick, I'm blocking you." I remember being shocked. This was actually out of character. My son and I got in late that night to find that the internet password had been changed with a message on the chalkboard that as soon as I dropped the topic of shared assets and prepay the upcoming electric bill, she would not reveal the Wi-Fi password. We live in an area without cell coverage, so I couldn't even message my sister to call her out. I'm not proud, but I went to the garage and unplugged the router and locked it in my truck. When she came to me, she was furious. I can hardly remember what she said now. What I can say is that she was very cruel and near violent. In that verbal vomit, she said, "You have no idea what I've been through. I miscarried." At that point, I asked her to give me a few minutes to process. I left shortly after, with my son and my dog, leaving the router on the porch. I'm embarrassed to say that I offered to stay the night and keep her company. I realize now that in order to support someone, we have to ask ourselves if this is safe, if we have the capacity to offer support, and if this person has the capacity to accept support. She halfway apologized a couple days later. After that, she grieved independently and almost silently. My son and I grieved independently from her, being careful to follow her direction and boundaries of not talking about it. Weeks felt like months. The house was cold. Any level of contact or coordination was the beginning of a fight. In therapy, I started to unpack the events over the last year. I learnt a great deal about myself, mostly in regards to my self-integrity. I've come to understand my role in perpetuating her controlling behaviours, my lack of self-esteem which snowballed under our shared roof, leaving me in a state of ambivalence and complacency. I recognised the ways in which my sister held little to no regard to my autonomy, often using emotional manipulation to force my submission. I know this is abuse. Know that when she gets cold, I got colder, and I'm not innocent in all of this. Someone once described us as an immovable object meeting an unstoppable force. I think there are times where we play either role. I carry deep compassion and love for my sister and remain further empathic. I remain optimistic that she will come to understandings of her own that will reunite her with her humility. I'm terribly sorry for her loss and often find myself worried about her well-being. I have hope that in time we can build a stronger, more sustainable dynamic. I'm painting my bedroom at my new place. Even with my son on the other side of the country this holiday, I feel at peace here. I wish my sister has peace too. A day will come where we can overcome some of these hardships, but that day is not today. And some final comments. You lived together for 3 months and you need to discuss the shared assets you required in that time frame? Okay, lol, something seems weird. Your sister didn't change her mind about her ex. You did with your relentless arguments. You started the battle for control by dictating who could live with your sister. Opie replies, I mean, we moved across the country with nothing. Furniture, tools, dishes, even a pantry and cleaning supplies. All these things add up. When everything is a fight, you have to discuss the right to take the rake if you leave the shovel, kind of thing. Sounds like a lot of mess and hurt on both sides. You did the best with keeping distance, having therapy and living in peace with your son. You're so nice for being optimistic about your relationship. I hope the same too, that eventually you both find peace. Opie says, thanks for being kind. I'm keeping busy with my new place, trying to distract myself. Good. I hope your life gets better without your abusive sister in it. I kind of want to address how you felt that you were equally at fault for the fighting. I think it's completely normal to label your reaction to her abuse as being just as bad, but I also want you to recognize that your sister sounds batcrap crazy. I realize that saying you're at fault is a way for you to reclaim autonomy, but as an outsider, no. Emotional abusers will push you to great lengths for a reaction, just so they can say that you're just as bad as they are. I'm sure there's a lot of unhealthy family dynamics that you'll unpack in therapy. Good luck healing, and give yourself space and grace. Opie says, hey, thanks for saying this. I feel like I'm just scratching the surface in terms of my trauma response. I'm not fully accepting the abuse that took place, but I'm working towards it. Because my sister and I had a very difficult upbringing, we have been very much entangled. She is the only family I have, so it very much feels like a loss. I do agree with you that my sister was the abuser, and I was simply reacting. This I know to be true. I'm just not sure of my reactions at this time. Anyway, thanks for saying this. This story screams unreliable narrator, and I'm using the singular because Opie and the sister that commented may as well be the same person. Yeah, I was with Opie until the sister's comment, and then I couldn't suspend my disbelief any longer. I'm willing to accept that Opie and the sister are real people, but after that comment, Opie just became too untrustworthy to believe at face value. Opie says her sister found it, so that confirms it wasn't a random Redditor. If anything, Opie sounds like she's purposely lying online for sympathy, and the sister was the more pitiable case. When everything is a fight, you have to discuss the right to take the rake if you leave the shovel, kind of thing. That sentence really sent me back to dividing assets with my ex. To this day, 15 years later, I'll open a drawer looking for that nice orange hand strainer and remember that I got the good cheese grater instead. Yeah, I have to say I'm kind of with those comments earlier about Opie being a little bit unreliable. I don't know what it is about it just seems fishy, and especially after that comment we read about the sister. It could really only be two things, right? The sister actually commenting or Opie replying as the sister. Either way, it really doesn't show Opie in a very good light, and she did nothing to address the claims in the update post. I don't know, what do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, we're going to leave that story there and move on to another one. Okay, well, over on Am I Wrong, this one was written by user Smells Like Ocean, and it's titled, My friend's boyfriend is weirdly invested in my life. I, 19 female, would like to start off by saying that I'm in my own relationship, and although the title sounds weird, I just can't tell if I'm going crazy or not since everyone in my life has acted as if this situation is completely normal. A couple of months ago, before I was in a relationship, I was on a dating app and would mainly use it unseriously with my friends, mainly because I would never find anything substantial in them. I ended up matching with this guy, 19, let's call him Dave, who only used Instagram to talk to people, and therefore I ended up giving him my Instagram. I specifically remember talking to my friend, 18, let's call her Leah, about Dave. My Instagram is full of pictures of me and my friends. I ended up ghosting Dave due to some personal issues I was going through and some mannerisms I caught onto that I didn't like. He was low-key aggressive, and I continued to post on my Instagram. Months later, my friend Leah comes up to me and tells me about this guy she matched with on a dating app. Surprise, surprise, it's Dave. Leah starts saying that she understands why it wouldn't work out for me and Dave because we have nothing in common, and that she's really excited for her date with Dave. I was also excited for her at first. She went on her first date with him. Things were going very well. On the second date, Dave tells Leah that he wants to meet her friends. He was so pushy about meeting her friends that he said he would plan the whole thing. I told Leah that I definitely did not have to meet Dave until they're more settled into the relationship and that I wouldn't take offense to not being invited. Leah told me that she wanted me to go and that all she felt she needed to do was tell Dave that I would be at his meeting the friends date. On Leah's third date with Dave, she asks him who his celebrity crush is, and Dave responds with a popular actress of my ethnicity and then continues to express how women of my ethnicity are his type. Leah has a very different ethnicity to me, and Dave was well aware of this. She finally musters up the courage to tell him that she is friends with me, and when she does, he tells her, "Oh, I know. Do you know why she ghosted me?" He then proceeded to tell her that he would bring a friend and turn this next date into a double date for us. I go to the double date. Surprise, surprise, his friend doesn't show up because he's too afraid of women. Then we go through the date with Dave and Leah heavily making out everywhere we went, to the point where I just continued to get secondhand embarrassment. I then realized that my ex-boyfriend worked at one of the stores nearby, and since I was on good terms with him, I decided to stop by and say hi to him. Again, this is before me and my current boyfriend got into a relationship. Leah and Dave show up, and Dave asked my ex if he wanted to join us, and so he did. It was a pretty awkward setup since Leah and Dave continued to heavily make out at the restaurant we went to, but thankfully I was able to get through it without dying of boredom. A couple weeks go by, and this is when I start dating my boyfriend. We made it official before Leah and Dave did, and when he finally asked Leah to be his girlfriend, he sort of did it through text. Leah then tells me that they've gone on a date in the same mall we had gone on their double date, and that Dave had gone back into the store my ex worked at to see if he could find him. Leah tried to play it off as a really cute thing, because apparently Dave doesn't have a lot of friends since he just transferred to this college, and she believes he's just trying to make friends his own age. I don't find it as endearing since my ex was very visibly uncomfortable with Dave throughout the dinner and barely talked to him. A couple months later, my boyfriend and I start to have issues. I confided in Leah, and she wasn't really helpful since all she talked about was how Dave would never do that to her. She also brought up the fact that she had a coworker who was looking for a girlfriend and that she showed him my Instagram and he seemed interested. Leah then started talking about how her coworker is actually one of Dave's new friends and how they're getting along well. Leah then puts Dave on the phone and he proceeds to tell me that I should break up with my boyfriend. Dave has never met my boyfriend. Dave also said that I should get myself a man of his ethnicity. Leah then admits to me that Dave has been continuously asking her for updates on how my relationship with my boyfriend is going and if we've broken up yet. A couple days later, I get a follow request from Leah's coworker and I asked her if she'd told him to follow me. She says Dave was the one who told him to follow me and said that Leah's coworker would treat me better. Dave just met Leah's coworker. He doesn't even know him that well. A couple hours later, Dave requested to follow me on his alternate account. I don't know what else to do or say. Leah, my boyfriend, nor my friends seem to be at all upset about this behavior, or at least not at the level I'm upset. My friends have said that this is very odd and seem to think he's weirdly involved with my life as my friend's boyfriend. Is this not weird? Am I wrong for being upset? Nah man, honestly, sounds like Dave still has a crush or some weird infatuation with OP here. And it honestly sounds like it's getting to points of being very strange, if not dangerous. Let's go to the comments. Stay away, block him out of your life, and don't share so much with your friend Leah. Make new friends. This is really important because it's got to have a support system. I would also ask your ex what he thinks about Dave and what they talk about. And tell him you'd rather they don't talk about you because you're unsure of Dave. It is definitely weird behavior. Also, it doesn't matter what they all think. If it feels weird to you, then move with that till your feelings are proved otherwise. OP replies, 1. I have my own friends and I think I'll be making space between Leah and I, for this and other reasons as well. Thank you for your advice. And 2. Thankfully my ex wasn't working the day Dave went in to look for him. I asked what they talked about when Leah and I went into the bathroom, and he said they briefly talked about football, and that he felt a little uncomfortable with how overly friendly he was with him. Due to my current relationship, I don't think it's a good idea to be talking to my ex, but if the situation somehow escalates, I may reach out to him. She, Leah, doesn't think it's an issue that her boyfriend's type is the opposite of what she is. Like, my gosh, I know she's young, but yeesh. Opie says she just clinged onto the fact that people tell us we look alike, so therefore she thinks she looks enough like the people of my ethnicity to pass or for it to be okay. Also, Dave tried to backpedal and said that he didn't think I was of that ethnicity, but somehow she did, and yet we look alike. I don't know, it's all really weird, because in my opinion it's gaslighting, but I don't know. Dave is going to try to become your boyfriend's best buddy. You need to take this more seriously. The guy is showing classic stalker, nice guy behavior. Consider making your socials all private for a year or two, because yes, it'll take that long. Don't let your friends know if you'll be alone anywhere, if Dave might find out. Tell your parents or other people outside the friend group, and never go anywhere Dave is. If he's there, leave. Don't be nice about it. He's taking advantage of everybody wanting to be nice. Nope, he's dangerous. And Opie replies, all of my socials are private and I removed him from my followers. I've told my family, although they too think I'm overreacting. I talked to Leah and she told me that she really wanted to go on a trip with all four of us. I brought up the fact that Dave doesn't seem to like my boyfriend as a way to get out of it, and Leah just said, oh, Dave will play nice during the trip. So I can definitely see where you're coming from. Opie updates 3 days later. Thank you so much for all the support you guys gave me on my original post. I just wanted to update you all on the developments since then. My boyfriend and I made up, and I updated him on the situation with Leah, Dave, and Leah's co-worker. At first, my boyfriend seemed unfazed, but the more time passed, the more it seemed to bother him. Leah came over the night I uploaded the original post, and the first thing she said was, so what happened with your boyfriend? Everyone is dying to know, and by everyone I mean Dave and my co-worker, with a huge smile on her face. I pointed out the fact that it was odd that they wanted to know so badly. Leah simply brushed it off and said that her co-worker actually wanted to apologize to me. Leah said that supposedly Dave had made it sound like my relationship was done for, which is why her co-worker requested me. As for Dave, he just continues to ask Leah if I've broken up with him yet. Leah continued to express her disappointment with some comments Dave has started to make about her size. She specifically talked about how she'd wanted to get some dessert, but he had refused to get anything, and then asked Leah, do you get desserts with your friends every time you go out with them? And then Leah alluded to him fat-shaming her friends, specifically me and one of her other friends. A day or so later, Leah calls me and tells me that Dave has once again asked her if I've broken up with my boyfriend yet. We continue talking, and she says that unfortunately she doesn't think that we can go on that trip she's been wanting to go on with all four of us. Although I had already decided I wouldn't go anywhere if Dave were present, curiosity got the better of me, and I asked what changed her mind. She said, if Dave was in the same room as your boyfriend, I think he would physically fight him. She was being dead serious. My boyfriend and I got into a pretty run-of-the-mill argument. He didn't cheat or lie or steal or hit. It was a simple disagreement. Therefore, I don't think getting physical with my boyfriend is at all warranted, especially considering the fact that this rage is coming from my friend's boyfriend who I originally turned down and barely know. The day after this phone call, my boyfriend brought Dave up and asked if he'd done anything else. I informed him and he seemed genuinely concerned for Leah. He said that I should genuinely consider intervening as things has seemingly gotten worse. I made efforts to intervene when this relationship between Dave and Leah was fresh. However, Leah simply accused me of jealousy. If I'd been single at the time, I would have bit my tongue and taken the harsh accusation. However, by the time she made the accusation, I was in a relationship with my current boyfriend. Therefore, the accusation truly upset me, specifically because it was an insult to my boyfriend and our relationship. After reading so many of your comments, which I greatly appreciate, I think I have decided to make some space between me and Leah. Am I wrong for this? Should I try harder to intervene? Honestly, getting distance between Leah and yourself is a long time coming. One comment says, sorry OP, but it's time to ghost Leah as well. Dave is stalking you and she's enabling it. I don't know why she doesn't see what's going on here. Lack of self-respect, insecure, but she's feeding him info about you, so she's just as bad at this point. Keep them both at a very far distance. Has no one else pointed out to Leah that Dave is only with her because of you? Opie replies, no, that's why I feel like I'm the one that's crazy. Leah has two other friends, I'm close with one of them but not really the other, that she constantly talks to. According to her, she told them both the whole story, and they both didn't see anything wrong with Dave or his actions. I genuinely thought that she was lying to me about telling them the whole truth, but after talking to one of them, the one that I'm not as close to, I realized that she did in fact know the whole story, and she still believes Dave is a perfectly fine guy. There are other issues Dave has that I haven't necessarily mentioned because they're not relevant to this specific story, but even if you cut me off and all of the weird interactions Dave has had with me, he's still not a good guy to get into a relationship in my opinion. Non-violent crime level stuff. So I just don't understand why everyone else is so chill with it, which is why I felt like I was the problem. Yeah, Dave is bad news, and like the comments say, Leah should be doing something about it. Alright, let's go to another update, 1 week later. I wasn't going to make another update, but a lot of people have been requesting it. Thank you to everyone sending your feedback and support. It has been very helpful while managing the situation. I would like to say that after reading some of the comments, I decided to remove Dave from my following and unfollow him as well. This next part will be difficult to explain while maintaining the privacy of the people involved, so please bear with me. For some context, one of the strengths Leah and I had as friends was that we would call and text constantly, which made our friendship so strong as it transcended barriers like distance and things like that. This makes it a little difficult to get space from Leah without her noticing. Leah had called me one night and begged me to pick up the phone. I picked it up and she expressed that she was going to be taking a new step with Dave and that she was really nervous about it. She had never taken this step before. Based on the situation and the way Dave simply sprang it on her and just his overall treatment of the situation, I told her that she didn't have to take this step if she didn't feel comfortable with it. She said she did and went along with it. A couple days later, she came over to get dinner with me, saying she really needed to talk about the situation that happened. She told me that the next day, Dave had shown up with Leah's co-worker, let's call him Gabe, 18, who he had befriended. This is the same guy Dave wanted to set me up with. Leah explained that she got freaked out because she realized that she was talking and looking at Gabe a lot more than she was looking and talking to Dave. She said she felt bad and then continued to say that Dave started talking about other girls and showed pictures of other girls he's been with. Leah then expressed to me that it really upset her and that Gabe was the one who comforted her and reassured her that Dave was really into her. Leah said, "My boyfriend should be the one comforting me, not Gabe," so I asked her if she had feelings for Gabe. I expected her to say a stern no and continue her story, but when I looked up from my food, she gave me that look. She then said a meek no as she looked away from me. We went down this rabbit hole, talking about the possibility of Leah having feelings for Gabe. Leah continued to tell me that she had no feelings for Gabe and that Dave was her boyfriend. To really hammer in her point, she said, "Opie, my boyfriend is and then she stopped herself. Her eyes widened, as did my smirk. Leah then said, "You know what I meant." She then expressed that Dave is simply a better match since Gabe isn't interested in pursuing an ambitious career. Meanwhile, Dave is on that path. In my opinion, just because you're on that path doesn't mean you'll actually accomplish it. It's still early enough for Dave to change career paths or drop out of university entirely, so I wouldn't be choosing someone with Dave's past and track record over another guy I like simply because he says he's going to be successful in the future. Another issue I had with Leah's reasoning is that Gabe wasn't good enough for her, but apparently he was good enough for me to break up with my boyfriend and date Gabe instead. I also realized just how messy things would have gotten if I had actually done that, not knowing Leah has feelings for Gabe. As finals wrapped up, I was supposed to go on one last date with my boyfriend before I left and didn't see him for about a month or so. He continued to cancel on me throughout the week and finally cancelled on me the last day we were able to see each other and simply said, "See you when we come back," and hung up the phone. So I made the decision to break up with my boyfriend. He would rarely text or call, so our dates were the only time we would talk to each other, and we had those maybe once, rarely twice a week. I felt like he didn't care about me. There was more to it, but the point is that this was the last straw, so I ended it. The issue with this is that although I have many other friends, the timing of the breakup was awful, and right before the holidays, which meant I had to go home and I was a bit disconnected from my college friends. I had maintained my distance from Leah, but my mother just had to be overly critical the second I got home. My self-esteem plummeted because of this, and I felt so unworthy, taking into account that I had to break up with my boyfriend because he didn't care about me, and then my mother's comments really did not help. Leah reached out. I needed a friend, so I told her what was happening. She said she was sorry and that this was for the best. A day or so goes by and she texts me to tell me that Dave was really happy when she told him that I'd broken up with my boyfriend and that he told Gabe that I was single. She said he would be reaching out soon. I told her I didn't think it was a good idea since she clearly had feelings for Gabe. Leah told me that she'd fixed her issues with Dave and that she didn't have feelings for Gabe. He's my coworker. Dave is my boyfriend. At least this time she got the names right. I got the message from Gabe, and I decided to talk to him since I felt isolated at home. It was friendly. I asked him what he thought about Leah and Dave. He said that they were very different, and that Dave just has to stop talking about other women. We started talking about my ex-boyfriend, and Gabe says, "I can't stand F-boys. I don't know why girls always end up with them. Sometimes I feel like I should just be one of them, but I just can't do it. I wasn't raised that way." I then asked him if he was saying that meant he didn't like Dave. Gabe then replies, "Well, he's changing, but have you heard him talk about the girls he's been with? I don't know what else you would call that." Leah called me. She told me that Gabe had called her asking to swap a shift. She said that when she had asked how the conversation was going with me, he simply said, "Don't worry about it," and hung up the phone. I told her not to worry then, and continued on my day. 30 minutes later, Leah calls me again and then texts me, "Why did you unfollow Dave?" I asked her how she figured that out, and she said, "I was on the phone with Dave and I checked his following and realized you didn't pop up on mutuals. Why did you unfollow him?" I didn't believe her, but I didn't know what else to say. Gabe won't tell me what you guys talked about, and now I see that you unfollowed him. What the hell is going on, OP? I told her to relax, and I said that I unfollowed him ages ago. I then asked her to swear she won't say anything to anyone, especially not Dave. She told me, "I promise I won't tell him. You're my best friend. I won't tell him. Just please tell me." So I sent her the weird sly messages Gabe sent me. Leah then said, "So he likes me." That wasn't my first thought when I got the text from Gabe. I mainly felt like he knew Dave wasn't exactly the best boyfriend, but I suppose it could mean he has feelings for Leah. Yeah, I can't show this to Dave. He'll freak out. I told my family about what was happening. My mother and sister both said that Gabe obviously liked Leah, but then accused me of liking Dave yet again. Writing this out and reading over it again, I feel like I should just stop talking to Gabe and cut myself out of this situation. I feel a lot weaker right now than I was when I first posted this situation. One comment says, "I don't really understand why you keep talking to all of them, honestly. Don't you have friends other than Leah?" Opie says, "I do. Leah and I have been really close friends for a really long time. She helped me through most of my difficult situations. That's why it's difficult to cut that tie." Easier said than done, but personally I would distance myself from Leah, Gabe and Dave, ask whoever Leah might contact not to tell her anything about you, and would put anyone who might be willing to share information about to her on an information diet. Not next week or next month, but now. And I would tell Leah explicitly that Dave is making you very uncomfortable, and since she keeps telling him about you and your whereabouts, that you're going to distance yourself. You're getting way too tangled in all of this. Yeah, word, this feels like first year of college all over again. Jeez. Absolutely exhausting to read, and I don't think this story is really going anywhere. I mean, that's the last update so far, but honestly, I feel like we know enough. I mean, I miss being 19, but I don't miss being this obtuse. What about you guys? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Anyway, we're going to leave that story there and move on to something else. Okay, we're on Petty Revenge for a bit of a palate cleanser. This one was written by user Whole Kitchen, and it's titled, "Roommate kept using my makeup without asking, so I made sure she'd never do it again." I shared an apartment with a girl who had no concept of boundaries. She constantly borrowed my stuff without asking, clothes, shoes, and the worst of all, my makeup. I told her countless times to stop, but she always brushed it off like it wasn't a big deal. The last straw came when I found out she had used my expensive foundation for a party and didn't even bother cleaning the bottle. That's when I decided it was time to teach her a lesson. I went out and bought a cheap old foundation from the dollar store and swapped it with mine, adding a bit of self-tanner to the mix. I left it in plain sight on my vanity and waited. Sure enough, the next weekend she waltzed out of the bathroom with an orange face. I didn't say a word as she headed off to her party. The next day she came home furious, complaining that people had been laughing at her all night. I just smiled and said, "Oh no, maybe it wasn't your shade." She didn't touch my stuff again after that. Yeah, serves her right. Use your own stuff. Anyway, guys, we're going to leave it there. That's it from me today. Hope you guys enjoyed those stories. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.